welcome to K9 Legends and Trailblazers. Thank you for coming. I appreciate
Yeah,
you,
man, I feel
my
honored to
brother.
be here.
Oh, it's
You
it's.
know,
I'm so
I feel like
excited to have you, man.
I feel like I'm old school. I'm outdated now.
We are now, whether you know or not. But so I know about Kris Knight from about '04 till current. I want you to tell me
Yeah.
about Kris Knight before the Marine Corps,
Oh wow. Okay.
from Cincinnati, from growing up in Cincinnati.
Yeah. Camp Dennison. It's
Yeah.
a suburban town outside of Cincinnati. I think it's about 15 miles, 20 miles outside of Cincinnati. Small Civil War town.
Okay.
Um, Basically, I lived there since I was 11 months old. When my parents got divorced, they were young. They were teenagers,
Oh wow.
and got divorced when I was 11 months old. So my mother, being young, moved back in with her parents, my grandparents.
Right.
Man, long story short, I never left that house from that point on.
I
You know,
remember. I remember having that conversation with
yeah,
you about
she.
your grandparents.
It was me. I have an older sister. She's 2 years older than me, and so my mother, my sister, and I moved back in with my grandparents, her parents. And then I want to say around 1977, when I was 5 years old, she met who my current stepfather is
Oh,
today,
okay.
and they moved from Camp Dennison, where I was at, to a town called Blue Ash.
Okay.
And Blue Ash is, we're talking 12, 15 minutes away from like house to house,
Yeah.
where they went. My sister
Oh,
went with my
nice.
mother.
Rural. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice though. It's all suburban, where I grew up. I mean, you could walk out of the house with a rifle,
I
shotgun. I mean,
remember
it
your
was,
dirt bike stories
oh
from
yeah,
way back in the
yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah. You could ride on. We had a few acres. I could ride in my yard. We could ride on the road. There was really no issues
Yeah.
until maybe I got into my young teenage years, and then they were like kind of cracking down on staying off the roads. But
Right.
man, as a kid, well, if I had to choose 100 for 100, I'm going back and doing
Going
the
back.
same exact childhood. So yeah, man, I saw my mother regularly. She was in my life, but I mean, again, over time, more so than anything, my grandmother and grandfather were my parents.
Right. Yeah.
And I'll never forget, sitting at the kitchen table when my mother was moving to Blue Ash.
Hmm.
And it's like, hey, we're moving, and I think I had to go to summer school or something.
Right.
So, so I was like, I had to stay there for 3 weeks, right? But during that 3 weeks, I was like, hey, Gramp, do I have to leave? He was like,
Right.
no, you don't have to leave. You don't want
Right.
to. And I'm assuming, looking back, I was what, like 5, 6 years old.
Right.
That they just assumed I would change my mind.
Right.
I was definitely not changing my mind, and I didn't. And my grandfather said, "Hey, you can stay," and told my mother he stays.
Nice.
So again, I would visit her on the weekends. I saw her all the time. My father, not so much. God rest his soul. He was more like a creator and felt like he had pretty much done his job.
Yeah. I know
Yeah.
that feeling. I have the same
Okay.
situation.
Yeah. He's kind of the I made you, I did my job. I'm like, very well. I mean, I still saw him. I mean, no ill feelings, I guess you could say. We went hunting, we went fishing on a semi-regular basis. That's
Right.
pretty much what part of,
That was your
yeah,
relationship.
yeah, that was our relationship. It was hunting, fishing, outdoor kind of thing. And he was pretty avid. He's good at, I mean, pretty much pull a motor out of a car or rebuild. He had like race cars he used to drag race, like Camaros and things like that. And he could pull a motor out, put it back. You could shoot anything. Um, well, I mean, like I don't remember him ever missing anything. And when we used to
Right.
go groundhog hunting, he would use a 22 250 and shoot groundhogs running at 400 yards away, and cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and probably already had 6 beers.
So
You know,
yeah, you were meant to have a gun in your
yeah,
area.
yeah. I grew up with guns. I'd say
Yeah.
by the time I was 12, I owned 12 firearms, and
Wow.
and we're not talking, Daisy BB guns. I
Right.
had real firearms,
Legit,
and
yeah.
it was normal. I mean, I would never let my kids do it, but it was normal for that time.
So what like drove you to go from that pretty fun rural life to the Marine Corps?
Well, again, I was really, really outdoorsy growing up, and I would, 11, 12 years old, I might just dip out of the house and pack a couple of guns in a sleeping bag.
Right.
And I remember I had this like little tent that you could set up in 5 minutes, and I would just dip out and hang out in the woods for 2 or 3 days and take some food from home and wouldn't tell anyone I went. And
Oh,
you know,
nice.
I was wild like that, and they just dealt with it. You know, like, oh, he's still alive. Let him be, I guess.
Yeah. Different time though. Right?
Yeah, it was totally a different time.
It's
No
a
one's
different
messing
time.
with you, nor was I to be messed with
Yeah,
anyway.
70s and 80s definitely a different time. I mean, how many missing children never got reported?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Unfortunately.
yeah.
So, you know, coming up through the years, I was never really into school, and no one pushed me. You know, it was my grandparents. They had their own thing going on, and they're tired from raising their own 4 children. You know,
Yeah.
my mother being one of them. And next thing you know, I'm graduating high school, and I had 27 football scholarships, but I just was not. I can't say not interested, but I had good hindsight. Like, man, my legs aren't quite big enough, and I was a late developer. Like, I'm going into high school, 5'6", 105 pounds.
Right.
You know, I mean, I didn't even have to shave until I was 22 years old.
Right.
So I really did not become a larger man and exceed 200 pounds in a sense until I never got above 200 pounds until I was 23 years old. You know, but I really started growing at like 19, 20, and then I was at that point, maybe I could have played, but it was a little too late. I had gone to college to become a forest ranger. Thought that was a good idea. So I saw how much they paid and the fact that I wasn't very good at school anyway. So February of 1992 comes along. I get the phone call. I'm getting ready to go on a 3-week wilderness survival course. And I'd already gone on one.
Right.
No problem. I was going to go on a 3-week advanced course. And the day I went to the classroom, I get a call. Well, my grandfather or someone in the family had called the school because we were way out and about at this classroom before you hit the woods.
Yeah.
And I heard the car rolling up in the gravel. I kind of looked out the window and I was like, oh, it's like the campus police.
Right.
I was like, man, my grandfather told me, be ready for a phone call because my grandmother was, suffering from cancer.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, that's for me. And I started packing my stuff up.
Right.
The teacher's looking at me like, what's going on? Yeah, I said, the police are here for me, but it's not bad. Like, I didn't do anything wrong, but they have to explain it to you. He's like, okay. So I got up with my bag and I walked to the door and he was opening the door and I said, hey, you looking for Kris Knight? And he's like, yeah, I have some news for you. I said, you can tell the teacher. I said, I understand. I just walked away.
Right.
Man, next thing I know, I wake up, I'm like looking up at the sky. I passed out, like walking to my car, So we had a staging area for our car, and I just was like, man, like devastated because it was like my mother. Yeah. So anyway, I got my stuff together, got in the car, went back to the house, and my buddy was Scott Morgan was my roommate. We had a house together, and I said, hey man, I'm out, I'm leaving. Right. My grandmother passed. I'm packing up. I'm done with school. This is not working out for me anyway. Right. Packed up, went home, and I went back one time to pay off my final tuition. And at that point, man, from February '92 to like October '94, I was wild. I was wild, running around. I had a good time. I don't regret any of it, but one day I just sat up and, like I said, October '94, and I said, man, this is kind of a waste of time. My buddy Sean Bear he had talked to me like maybe 4 or 5 days before that at a party, and said, hey, I'm joining the Marine Corps. And I was like, yeah, well, man, that's right. Marine Corps. He's like, no, I'm serious, man. My sister's dating a recruiter, and da da da. And I'm like, yeah, no, you definitely are not joining the Marine Corps. You make me look like a saint. So he's like, I'm serious, man. I said, okay. If you're so serious, when are you going? He goes, Tuesday. I said, come get me. I'll go with you. Right. I thought he was bluffing. Right. He shows up at the house and he's like, I'm like, what's up, man? He's like, hey, we got to go talk to the recruiter. I said, oh, you serious? I was like, all right, let me get dressed, man. Right. Went up there and that was it, man. I said, hey, where do I sign? He's like, you got to take this test. I'm like, okay, take the test. Right. That was
so
it.
when you came in to the Marine Corps, was it Pipeline K9?
They had Pipeline and they had the other option of OJT or something to get selected. I was a Pipeline.
Okay, so you went from boot camp to MP school, and then right into
Well, there's the MCT in between that. So I went to Columbus, Ohio on January 9th, 1995. The next day, flew and then bus to Parris Island, South Carolina. And that was January 10, 95. Finished boot camp March 31, 95. And then the day I turned 23 was April 18th of 95. And I was at North Carolina for Marine Corps combat training. They call it
Okay.
MCT. It's in
Okay.
like Jacksonville.
Yeah, I got you.
So a month there. Still I have no clue. At this point, I have no clue that there's dogs in the military. I don't know anything about the military.
Right.
I lost a bet and joined.
Right,
okay, I followed through with what I said I was going to do.
Yeah, right.
But I was set on that if I'm going to join, I'm only joining the Marine Corps.
Right.
And thankfully, I passed and everything was good with me. And my physical test, I was good to go.
Yeah.
So I go home. Whatever, you get like a week or two, and then an old friend of mine named God, Marshall was his first name. I don't remember. His brother was in my class. His name was Eric Marshall. But anyway, his younger brother gave Sean and I a ride back to the schoolhouse, and then I got shipped off to Fort McClellan, Alabama for MP school, and there was like a holding thing going on. We had to wait for class, so I got recruiter's assistance.
Right.
Went home for a month, came back like 2 days later, 3 days later, I jumped in class.
Right.
Now, at this point, it was just God's will because I just happened to be sitting at the right spot a couple months, 2 months, 3 months after I'd been there.
Right.
And First Sergeant was a gunnery sergeant, but they call him First Sergeant Lanier. Well, he was a tough dude. He checked me one time and cured me for life on something. So anyway, that's another story. So I hear that, hey, anybody want to be canine? Be here, blah, 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 at this time in your PT gear. And I'm like, what's that? You want to be canine? Like some dogs, man? What are you talking about? Yeah. Like, yeah, canine. Like, oh, that sounds cool. I want to do that.
Yeah.
So I get in line with like 22 other dudes, and boom, boom, boom. We each go in there ask us questions, 2 or 3 minutes or something. I don't remember.
Right.
And one slot, they picked me.
So you go.
That was it at that point.
Lackland.
Oh yeah. From there, I graduated October the 5th, 95. On October the 8th, 95 was day one Lackland at K9 school.
Do you remember who your instructors were?
Yeah, civilian Jimmy Thornton.
Okay.
Had an old like Ford truck.
Jimmy Thornton was an old Vietnam dog hound.
Right? Yeah, he was cool, man. Yeah. I liked him. He was a laid back guy, big thick mustache.
Right.
And then Ronnie Sutphin was I think he was like a staff sergeant, E5 at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a real nice guy. And actually, Rusty Smith, a Marine staff sergeant, he wasn't. I don't know what his deal was. I didn't see him that much, but he was one of the instructors. I don't know. Yeah, I remember he always had this green stretchy band because he had some shoulder problem. Every time I saw him, he's always pulling on his band.
Physical therapy.
Yeah, he's like doing it at work or something. It was cool. I remember I had a crazy dog named Bruno. He was a Dutch Shepherd, and every time one of the little blue trucks would go by from Lackland, he wanted to go after it. And he was a big, strong dog. And then one time they were like, just let him go. And he chewed the bumper and everything else. They're like, all right, don't do that again.
Don't do that, yeah.
I was like, kind of obvious what he was going to do. But,
no doubt, right?
Yeah.
And then at that time, that was patrol and detection were concurrent, right? Meaning...
Yeah, it wasn't the same dog. I know that much. Right. I remember getting another dog named Arthur, and that's the first time that I saw a dog with titanium teeth. And he was a Shep.
No, I heard about this dog.
Yeah, I'm like Arthur. He had 4 titanium teeth. He was cool. I swear he liked to smile on purpose or something, but he was just single-purpose detection anyway. But yeah, I actually have some picture with him somewhere because it was cold. I remember all bundled up in my camis, and he's sitting next to me.
So you get done with that, right?
And December 20th, I graduate.
Block 2, graduate, and you go to fleet.
Yeah, I was, first of all, let me backtrack for a second. There was a Captain Romano when I went on recruiter assistance. Before we had joined at all, Sean was only dead set on becoming reserve.
Oh.
Okay. I was like, well, whatever, man. That's what we'll do.
Yeah.
So he saw me. He's like, hey, come here. Come to my office. He's like, what are we doing? Why are you wasting your time? I was like, what do you mean? Yeah. He's like, if you're going to do this. Because you two need to get away from all this stuff.
Right.
And I was like, this dude is right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's right. I was like, he's like, this is what we're going to do. If you join active duty, I owe you. If you get him to join active duty, I owe you 2 things.
Oh.
I was like, okay, cool. I'll make that happen. Right. So I did.
Right.
Well, Gunny Lanier said nobody goes on recruiter assistance. I was like, man, I got to get out of here. I can't wait 2 months to start school. This is crazy.
Right.
Hey, he's like, done. the next day. I got hazed so bad for that one, man.
But
But I went on recruiter assistance. I was there for 30 days, and after 30, he's like, "Want 30 more days? You're doing a great job." I was like,
yeah.
No. I talked to my buddy. He said we're picking up class in like 3 days.
Yeah, I better get back.
So I got back, and anyway, so now I'm graduating K-9 school. A couple weeks before that, they gave us our orders.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to New River,
Where's that?
North Carolina,
Oh,
basically back where MCT was,
right.
like Jacksonville. I was like,
Right.
I was like, Matt, where you go? Matt Maycomber was my
Your guy.
roommate guy.
Yeah.
So, and he's like, I'm going to Go Broke. I'm like, Go Broke? What is he, like Hawaii?
Oh.
Yeah, my brother-in-law's there, and he hooked me up. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, Captain Romano.
He's like, too. Yeah.
He's like, done.
Right.
I was like, there's no way. The next day, I get called back into the office, one of the old buildings in Lackland, where you walk in and the floor sinks down.
Yeah.
It's like historic buildings now.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, my buddy's going here. He's like, done. So anyway, the next day they called me and they're like, hey, your orders got changed. I was like, oh, really? I played stupid. Like, what do you mean? What happened? He's like, yeah, you're going to Hawaii. I was like, where? Kaneohe Bay.
Yeah.
I was like, the same place Matt Maycomber's going? Yeah. Oh, cool.
Nice.
So January 5th, 1995, or 1996, I can't remember his first name, but a guy named Smith, Corporal Smith, picked me up from the airport. I'm like, wow, Hawaii, I ain't been that too many, but I mean, I've been, on vacation here or there. I've been South Carolina or something, Florida, but I mean, I didn't know.
I'm in Hawaii.
So, yeah, I was like, I'm in Hawaii, and they're paying me to be here. So.
Yeah.
That was the start, and thank God I got Hawaii because I went into a very competitive kennel of about a dozen handlers and a sergeant at the time, now retired Master Gunnery Sergeant Bill Cartoon, was a KM. Yep. And that was the first example of this makes perfect sense on how to lead. Because in his uniform, he was Sergeant Cartoon and he was not messing around. Right. He's gonna
down to business.
He gonna hold you accountable.
Right.
As soon as he took the uniform off, he was Bill.
Right.
I didn't necessarily call him Bill, but I mean, he was cool like that. And we'd go out and drink together, party together. But hey, when the uniform's on, it's business. So I was like, I'm gonna emulate this for the rest of my career.
Old school. Yeah.
I'm, like later he'd say, I'm gunning in uniform. I'm call me whatever you want in my regular clothes.
Right.
I don't care. Don't call me.
Right.
But it worked for me. So. So there I went from Lance Corporal to Sergeant. I was fast tracking and doing well. And I mean, I loved the game of K9 and we trained really hard. I mean, it was the opposite of the second kennel I went to. We would go out and do like 3 and 4 different types of training areas a day. I became joined SRT in April of '96.
Special response
special reaction team. It's like Marine Corps SWAT.
Okay.
So I went to that school, and then right after I went to Marksman Observer School, and I finished best shot in the class. But another guy in the Army beat me by one question on the written test, so he got like the honor grad or top grad. I don't remember, but I was happy to graduate because I remember we started off with 25 and only 11 graduated. So I was like, well, I made it. And then Gunny Contreras, Bill Cartoon was certainly someone I'd say I looked up to. Like he was like, this guy really knows what he's talking about. He's really good with the dogs and what he spoke and paid attention and don't mess with him because he'll hold you accountable.
Right.
Now Gunny Contreras was the SRT commander. Mm-hmm. Wow, man, this guy is like the definition of Marine. He could run a 300 PFT anytime he wanted to. He could probably do it running backwards. Right. He was just a PT stud and just an all-around model Marine. Like, wow, if he says jump, don't ask how high, just keep jumping.
Just jump.
Yeah, that's who he was. I mean, I thought the guy never slept. He was like a cyborg or something. And we're talking about a guy who was like 5'6", LA, Hispanic man. All of maybe 160 pounds, and I'm like 228, working out every day. I don't think I would have had a chance against this guy. Yeah, that's on God's honest truth.
Like Gunny Highway kind
of. He was not a joke. He would have tied you in the knot. Yeah, he was that guy. But really cool, man. Like one of those guys I wish I'd kept in touch with better, but I've been horrible about that my entire life. So yeah, man, the foundation that I started off with in K9 was immaculate. Keith Krim and Matt Maycomber, Andy Chumler, And, you know, just other guys that were just cool to hang
It's a
with and
lot of
cool to
good
train with.
influences. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I
Sure.
said, we were competitive, man. Whether it be
Right.
in the gym, who can bench more,
Right.
you know, whose dog is better and whose dog does a cleaner standoff or whatever the case
So
is.
most definitely there's a, understood by everybody. There's a Marine Corps brotherhood, but also there's a
Yeah,
Canine brotherhood.
sure.
That's
Oh yeah, well, you know, we definitely have the law, the rule of what happens in canine stays in canine,
right.
you know, and we stuck to it. I mean, there was a Connex box at the kennels, and if you had to go to it, you went to it. And,
Took care of
you know, I went
business.
to it twice, and
Yeah.
thankfully, both times we didn't have to go to blows, but
Right.
talked us out. You know, we talked each other down and got
So,
over
so
it.
this is first base. This is like first base
Yeah,
as a young Marine, a dog hound,
but what a foundation I
learning
got,
from
man.
a legend within himself, cartoon.
Yeah,
I was Air Force, but I know who that
yeah,
is.
yeah.
I know who that name
He was
resonates
great,
all
great.
over K9. Um, so that that what a great foundation. So what in that? So from there you went to DTS, or
No, no,
you
no.
went to another base.
No. I when it came time to reenlist, it was like October '98. Again, I'm a sergeant, and they asked me, you have to put down a wish list. I said, do I get to stay in Canine? They're like, yes, if you reenlist, you get to stay in Canine.
Yeah,
I was like, okay. So I put down Albany, Georgia as my number one,
that's right.
Albany, Georgia as my number two,
That's
and
right.
Albany, Georgia as my number three.
So you got Albany, Georgia.
So yeah, well, he goes, you can't do that. I said, you told me three choices. Those are my three choices.
Right.
He goes, all right, I'll call you in a few days. I came
Right.
back. He's like, yeah, you got Albany, Georgia.
That's right.
So now it was the opposite. They were there. The guys were happy to sit in the office and play hearts on the computer
Right.
and do a whole lot of nothing. You do a few demos here and there.
Right.
I that did not sit well with me. I mean, I probably wasn't there a month where I was like, yeah, get up. I'll just go train by myself.
Right.
And I had gotten a brand new dog from Lackland.
Oh, okay.
Um, I got there, was checked in March 15th, 99. And I went to Soup's course in June of '99. The day I came back, like the day or two after that, my dog arrived.
Okay.
So I saw him actually before he even got shipped. They let me go check him out. I'm like, oh, this is
Oh,
dog
while
going
you were
home.
doing Soup's course.
Yeah. So a few days before I left, I went and saw him, met him.
Right.
I'm like, dog's name was Danja, dual purpose narcotic, but he wasn't trained in patrol yet. It was one of those things where like we got to ship him
It
out.
was a workout.
He was trained in narcotics, and I ended
Y'all
up
gonna
training him
finish it.
literally by myself.
Right.
For the most part in patrol. And that's when at that point, with the foundation I had and the fact that I had no help at this location for the most part,
Yeah.
I kind of developed my own orthodox style. I would play the handler, the decoy, back and forth, and it just worked for me.
Right.
You know, and then I would, hey, come out here and put the sleeve on and see if what I did works.
Thank God for a back tie, right?
Yeah. But he was a cool dog too. He loved me. So, and his favorite toy was a garden hose. That I found out on accident because he didn't really like other toys. But yeah, so I stayed there for 3 years and 9 months. Went from handler to chief trainer to KM, and that's when I didn't really like the KM position because it takes you off leash.
Yeah.
So, and that was very short, and I was still messing around with the dogs anyway when they had issues. But Bill Childress called me one day. I just happened to be sitting at my desk. Phone rang. Sergeant Knight, blah blah blah. Hey, Master Guns Childress at the time. Master
Bill was
Guns.
program manager.
Yeah, he Master Guns at the time.
Pentagon. Oh, at the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is pre-Bill. This is Master Guns Bill.
Right.
Hey, I see you're coming up on re-enlistment. Would you like to go to DTS? I was like, absolutely. Yeah. He's like, is that a yes? I'm like, yes, sir. Yeah. He's like, you'll have orders in 20 minutes.
For dog training school.
Yeah. I was like, are you kidding me? I go up there, bam, print out. Sure enough, I go and see the ops chief and say, hey, I'm got orders. I'm going to Lackland. Okay, cool, whatever. Right? A few months later, there I am, and day one at Lackland was January 6, 2003.
Okay.
Sergeant Parker was the
Sergeant First Class Parker,
chief,
Army,
I guess.
Army guy, right?
Yeah. He was a nice guy. Yep. So I remember I got on a team with a guy named Holmes. He was staff sergeant in the Army.
Holmes.
Yeah. Was that what CJ?
CJ.
Yeah, real nice. He was cool. I liked him.
Army staff sergeant.
Another guy. The Army, and then a guy named Stitt.
He was Air Force guy.
Stitt. Yeah, Stitt.
Yeah.
I remember he always talked about Alaska and stuff like that. And I remember he bought 100 acres for $100,000, and I thought that was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was the one that was crazy.
Yeah.
What a bargain!
$1,000 an acre.
Oh my
right.
goodness, man!
So you get the
100 acres.
DTS, right? Dog
Yeah,
Training Squadron, and what happens there is this is a location where we take dogs from overseas or whatever vendor, but
yeah. Usually overseas back then.
overseas.
Yeah, primarily.
When we take them green to gold, basically,
Right,
right?
right.
They know a little bit enough to pass the test to get bought, and then we're training them to be an operational team to be sent to the field.
I got issued 3 dogs.
So you're working a trailer, right? With
Right.
a team.
Yep. I got them at the end. They issued me 3 dogs right away. It was like the perfect time when they were just picking up.
Yeah.
So I got issued 3 dogs. All 3 made it. And ironically, I was only there for 2 weeks. And wow, what was this guy's name? He was Navy. I want to say his last name started with a G. Anyway, he was like the trainer on the team.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey man, come with me." I've been there 2 weeks, so he goes, "Come with me." And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'll tell you when we get there." So we go into Sergeant Parker's office, and his name was Gonzo.
Gonzo. Okay.
Yeah, Gonzo.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, Sergeant Parker, this Sergeant Knight, I was telling you about him." He's like, "Yeah, yeah." He's like, "I want to relieve myself of the trainer and give to him." He goes, "I don't know how this guy knows so much, but he knows far more than I ever will." And it makes no sense that I'm telling him what to do because he's literally like doing circles around us.
Right.
And he's correcting us left and right. "I wouldn't do that. This is going to do that. This is going to do this. Is going to lead to that."
Right.
And they're like, "Oh, boot. How would you know?"
Yeah,
I'm like, "I've already had 7 years though, where a lot of people only had 4 years, and some people went pipeline straight into that."
Right.
And I had a great foundation.
Right.
Then I had to go and do a lot of things on my own because I had a kennel that really didn't want to play.
Right.
So it kind of worked out well for me to go to DTS. And like anyone, I showed up like, "Oh, I was the lead. I'm gonna learn some stuff." But it took me 2 weeks, and I'm like, "What? Get out of the way." Yeah, you're great. You're good. You're good. I'm gonna pay attention to you.
And that's the thing about that the 341st DTS, right? I would say even the worst trainer there is probably okay as a trainer in the field, right?
Right.
But some people stand out, and that's what I remember most about you. I showed up to DTS also in 03, probably a few months after you.
Okay.
You said January?
Yeah, January.
Yeah,
January 6th, day 1.
I showed up around April, and I never forget going out to the pit for the first time. And I'm watching you decoy dog, and then I'm watching you eat a couple people up about the way they're decoying dogs. So I was like, all right, I'm going to pay attention to this guy. He seems to know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience with you. So DTS, the focus of DTS is primarily train the dogs from green to gold, get them up, get them certified, push them out to the field.
Yep.
And then at some point, when you're really good at DTS, or at least that's the way it was back then, they want you to go instruct.
Yeah, it happened to me, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I say unfortunately because I was very resistant. I went 7 for 7 when that first year. I had the 3, and then the next trailer I got 4 dogs issued to me. And ironically, they say that no one handpicks dogs.
Right.
That's not true because I watched 2 Air Force guys come in from wherever and watch me for a few days while I was going through the validation or certification.
Yeah.
And I remember they made it like on a Thursday and a Friday, whatever. Come Monday, I'm gonna go just say hi to my dogs.
Right.
None of them were
there. They're gone.
Everyone else's dogs were there.
Air Force took them.
I was like, wow, you guys smart.
Yeah.
But don't tell me this lie anymore again, because I know you guys just handpicked my dogs.
Yeah.
Because this guy kept asking me, "What's his name? What's his tat? What kennel is he in?"
Yeah.
I was like, what are we asking these questions
they cherry picked
for?
Them
They did definitely cherry, but good on them, man. They were great dogs. Yeah, they were. I would have been happy to have any of them.
Smart. And I remember that too. I remember like watching you work out there, and you have a different feel with a dog than most people. And I don't think I've ever told you that. We've been friends a long time, over 20 years, but you can tell when a dog responds to someone quickly and confidently, and that's what I always saw with your dogs. So it was a good fit for you, and most of us, we didn't want to go from training dogs to training students.
I didn't.
Reluctantly,
I didn't. I felt like, I didn't realize it in a sense. Like what you're saying, I appreciate it because it took me many, many years to realize, like, maybe God did just touch me a little bit. Like, there's something about these dogs are drawn to me. After a few weeks with me, they realize, like, this guy's a little hard, but he's fair.
Right.
And when we figure out how to make him happy, our life is so good.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's like I always said about you. You always had. I said, man, this dude got like the softest hands when he's like a musician. You know, like the guy leading the orchestra. Like, your hands. I always remember like your hands being so smooth. I was like, I'm all check here, fool. You know what I mean?
Everybody has their.
Yeah, they got the thing.
They got the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like some people are really phenomenal on patrol, some are really good detectives, some are really good in both. But transition that over to students, right? And trying to understand how you take somebody on this train dog, right? Because that's how it was when I don't know what the makeup is now. But we had class dogs.
Right? Yeah, they had class dogs.
Yeah, we had the.
There was a time when we got some green dogs and we were allowed to train them and keep them on our team. We did that too.
So what? I would say for that, like being an instructor and influence people now, right?
Yeah, 29 consecutive classes.
And DOD being all branches, right?
Right.
All branches, and in that time frame, Kris, you know, Iraq, Afghanistan, everything's heavy.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is real.
Sure, absolutely. But to me, it was always real. Like I always wanted to be the best. I always tried hard. I was so passionate. And I realized, and I had an early appreciation. Like, yeah, these dogs, man, like saved me. They gave me a purpose. The school was not it. You know what I mean? But this, I mean, I live, eat, sleep. I shower thinking about these dogs all the time. You know, it's just that's all I do. If I'm awake, I'm thinking about dogs and how I can. What did I do earlier that I could improve tomorrow? Right. You know, what happened? Why did he do this? And why did he break? And why that? And,
and that's a good trait, right? Because you know, I had a conversation with Orlando Nunez, and
we were block one instructor at the same time.
And he always says it: when you stop learning, you got to get out.
Yeah.
And to this day,
it's like being. It's like if you no longer fear riding a motorcycle, then you better get off.
Yeah, you should get off.
You're gonna stop now.
You're gonna crash it down.
Yeah, and I've had 14, 15 bikes, and my firstborn daughter said, you know, this is enough.
So obviously, you know, instructing, you get a different kind of thing, different kind of relationship, right?
I learned to love it.
Right.
Within about 3 months, I learned to love it.
Right. Because you can see learning takes place, and that's the difference.
Well, I saw the appreciation of the student
for what they're learning.
They were like, I could see that, you know, whether I gave a class or when I was talking, whether it been in the field, they were really focused. And when I was in the background and someone else was talking, they were kind of like not paying attention. I'm like, okay, so there's something I'm capturing them. Yeah. And the fact that I'm influencing them to do it the right way, and like in my opinion, this is not so bad.
Yeah.
You know, they're kind of looking up to me and I'm like, I'm okay with this, you know.
Yeah. And that's so true, man. You know, I didn't want to go instructing, but and we'll get over to that one in a minute. But that opportunity came up for specialized search dog for me.
Oh, okay.
And being the only Air Force guy there, it really opened up a lot of different things for me. And we can talk about that later. But I want to talk about, you know, from you being an instructor, you know, MWD school is pretty just. It hasn't changed much in 30, 40 years.
No, there's no. I mean, there was no sense in reinventing the wheel.
Right.
I mean, you adjust to TTPs.
Right.
But other than that,
and just thinking about
fundamentals.
Thinking about it like out loud is that, you know, really from the time we started in MWD to the time that we're in now, the only thing that's really changed in detection and you know is that we've changed the focus to the focus response. That's about it.
Yeah, right? You know what? And even I changed to it and then got away from it.
But the fundamentals are still the same as far as imprinting a dog, taking a dog through initial odor, taking them through progression of different areas. It hasn't changed. And I bring that up because a lot of time I watch, you know, if you remember, I spent about 3 or 4 years contracting with a couple different companies and overseas as well. And I watch contractors still to this day try to reinvent the wheel on detection. And I'm like, what are we doing?
It's
like it's snake oil, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the DOD program, you look at the Homeland Security programs, you look at the British programs, they haven't changed. No. Even Israeli programs, they haven't changed.
What works.
What
it works. You know, people get confused, or at least whether that be the right word to choose. They get off kind of out in left field. Yeah. It's a simple-minded animal that has really unique capabilities. Right. But you got to focus on the first aspect. Right. He's simple. Oh, he's simple. Right. You know, maybe that's what made me successful. I'm like, he's simple, all right? Yeah. And look, and I always had this theory, like, hey, you have choice. You got 2 choices. You have A or you wish you had chose A.
Right.
That's it, man. You can try B, but you're not gonna get paid for it. You're not gonna get any love.
I'm gonna use that. I like that a lot.
You got two choices: A, or you wish you had chose A.
So you go from that, right? And I remember this vividly, man, because again, this was a time the Israeli stuff started coming up, right? And they were looking for folks, and
late 05.
And so originally they wanted a Marine, an Army, and an Air Force. So I originally got selected to go.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, hey, we're just going to send Marines.
Yeah.
All right, cool. But you're going to go to SSD, our version here.
Yeah.
So
right at the same time frame.
Yeah, I remember that vividly. I remember you and Kris Willingham.
Well, technically, it was supposed to be Brent Richardson.
Yes, I remember.
But he had put in for OCS as well.
Right.
And got selected for both. Right. And he chose
OCS.
OCS. Well, good for him. He ended up doing 30 years and retired lieutenant colonel, so it's not a waste.
Yeah, yeah.
But I needed a hot fill. And Rich Langley was like, hey, this guy went to OCS, man. We need someone to replace him. Do you have anyone? I said, man, I think I got one guy.
Yeah.
That's it. He's like, oh, who's that? I said, Kris Willingham, man.
Yeah.
Call him up. I said, I'll call him up right now. I called him up. I said, hey, man, what's up? I'm Hayward Ridge.
Yeah.
Let me call my wife.
Yeah.
I said, he said you can let him know tomorrow. Like 10 minutes later.
And just like that, Kris and I were starting the SSD program at Lackland, and then Kris was gone.
Yeah. Because that phone call.
So I know.
Now you know.
Which was I would say a huge loss to us, but also a gain.
Yeah, because
Kris is always giving back.
Wow, yeah, man.
Yeah, like
he's certainly
so walk
a walking
me through
hero,
that, right? Like you guys are U.S. Marines. You're going over to the Israeli Defense Force.
Yeah,
and you're learning something brand new with a dog that you haven't experienced before, and that course was pretty long too. Right?
It was 9 months.
It was 9 months.
Yeah, 9 months. It was, principles are the same though. It was not by no means intimidating. It was just different, new. Obviously, the big difference was we're communicating to dogs on a radio at a great distance, and which offers standoff, and that's what made me. I was like, yeah, this makes so much sense.
Right, because at the time we were working 6-foot leashes, finding IEDs at 6 feet away.
Joe, it made so much sense early on that I could literally, like, if someone said, "Hey, start this course tomorrow for those 10 guys," I wouldn't miss a step.
Right.
It got ingrained in me so hard. I was like, "This is real. This is legit.
Yeah.
I believe in this." Yeah. So April 14th, 06, there we are in Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
Like, wow, what is this? Like we walking down to the beach. I don't know where we were there, 2 days
or
3 days. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, honestly, that was what I was most upset about.
It was quite lovely, and we had like fuel cards and cell phones and rental cars, and it was all taken care of. It was cool. Bill definitely hooked us up. Bill Childress, up, man. He was he was a gift to Marine Corps K9
He was a really good program manager.
He was
and I had the opportunity to actually, if you remember, I actually worked for him.
No, I didn't know that.
For a little while. Yeah. So when I got out of service, I came back to DTS as a GS9.
Yeah.
You were off in the MEF somewhere.
Yeah, 2 MEF.
Yeah. And then I went to work for DTS. Wiltsey had hooked me up, and then Langerby.
Anson.
Yeah.
Wiltsey. Yeah. I literally.
Anson.
Yeah. Anson. I'm literally here to your clock.
So Langerby calls me. He's like, "Hey, you want to be a program supervisor in the Marine Corps?" I'm like, "What does it pay?" He's like, "It pays $28,000 more than what you're making now." I was like, "I'm your guy." So I got to work with Bill quite a bit. And Langerby quite
Bill
a bit.
Makes things happen, man.
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time with him, and he was kind of a no nonsense but very fair and calm guy.
Open checkbook too. If you needed something that made sense, I'll get it for you.
100%. And that's the way he treated me as a contractor as well, right? Like I was able to make programmatic decisions with Rich and him, and my opinion was valued, so I appreciated that. But you get over there, man, and it's a whole different world, whole different story. And I stayed in communication with Kris Willingham a little bit while I was there. He would tell me like some of the things that you guys are doing, which was amazing. But then you come back, right?
Yeah, we actually came back. We went to Yuma for 73 days to complete the course. Finally, we leave there in December, and I come back to Lackland and kind of in a little limbo stage in a sense,
And then is that when, from there, did you guys go directly back to the MEFs?
No, we went from Lackland. Well, there was a kind of like to take the school slot. we had verbally agreed to, in a sense, go to Iraq.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that did come true. They were like, okay, you're basically like two prototypes. You're going here and you're going there, kind of thing.
Right.
So, April, I think it was April, yeah, April of '07. We ended up having to go to Camp Lejeune for a 50-day workup. We had to do certain requirements you had to do, certain things I remember they waived. We had to do rifle range, we had to do gas chamber.
Right.
We had to do all of this check in the box stuff. And meanwhile, we were training our dogs on the roadway searches and open areas and vehicles. We were doing everything we could to prepare ourselves. I mean, because the dogs were still fresh out of school. And we hadn't, at this point, we hadn't even had our dogs for a year. Because I remember getting our dogs issued to us the first week of May.
Right.
So, and I had a wild one myself, that Brahm that I had saved. They were going to euthanize him because they said he was untrainable. And when the head of the IDF told me that this dog's untrainable, I said, I would like to have him. And he says, what part do you not understand? This dog cannot be trained. I said, by you.
Yeah.
I said, I think I can.
Right.
That was one of the worst mistakes I'd ever made because, yes, I got it done, but was the juice worth the squeeze? That's debatable.
Yeah.
But I will always said this, like, what did you learn? I don't know. I learned about $10 million worth of information from one dog. I mean, this dog challenged me, and I had sleepless nights, and literally it took me around 14 months to finally complete what I would say this dog's ready.
Wow.
You know, and he was never gonna be a Luca.
Right.
You know, he was batshit crazy. Right. But you know, I love this crazy ass. You know what I'm saying? And I learned so much from him that I just appreciated him. But so yeah, I had two dogs, two male dogs, and then Kris Willingham, Chris Beatty, and Rob Boker. They all had female mouths.
Yeah.
And man, early on, it was like Willingham kind of stepped out. The other two weren't, you know, no offense, they were not my competition. Everything's a competition to me. Right. But Willingham was always a step or two ahead. And there came a time where you just couldn't really even catch them. You could try, but you're like, these two, you know, these two are made for each other. They're special. Yeah. You know, you got to accept the fact that I'm like, you win. You know what I mean? So I was proud of him anyway. I'm proud. I'm like, no, I picked this guy. I knew I picked the right guy. Of course. You know, but him and Luca were, wow, what a team, man. If you were following them in war, you live. Yeah. You know, that's something I always love to tell people. I'm like, man, you get behind that dog. Right. Nothing ever happened behind me, but I mean, I think we got a little lucky. But behind him, there was nothing to find, or she found it. You know, that's how it was. Yeah. And you know, it's really crazy. I think he was only like maybe 4, certainly less than 10 kilometers away from me. And I mean, I'm really stretching it. Like I got on a bird one time, and I think we landed in 2 minutes to pick him up one time, and I'm like, you were this close to me, right. You know, but wow, I mean, I'm over here in like Miami South Beach, and he's in the real war over here. Right. You know, I can see you, but like, no, it was dangerous where he was at. Yeah,
I mean, every farm's different. Right?
Yo, I had, you know, what kept me out of danger at this in the whole Iraq thing is, I remember there was a room. I want to say the guy's last name was Garner. Sergeant Major. He was like the brigade sergeant major in the Army, and he called all the canines in. We all kind of came in at the same general time in the same month. Right. And there must have been 15 of us in the room, and he made us all sit junior to senior. Mm-hmm. I ended up being the senior guy, and I mean, Kris was like just left of me, and go around the room. We're introducing ourselves and telling him, okay, this is my experience. Right. You know, so they say. It gets to me, and I'm like, this, and this. And he's like, staring at me. He goes, all right. He looks at this guy named Sergeant Major Hart, or Sergeant First Class Hart. He goes, get everyone out of this room except for the guy right there. And he goes, come here, son. Oh. Yes, Sergeant Major. He's like, who the fuck you think I am? You think you can just sit here and tell me you did all this stuff? Like, you just spit out 30 years worth of stuff. You think I'm gonna buy that? I was like, I left some things on. He's like, okay, fill in the blanks. So I did, and he's like, why don't you go stand in the hallway? I'll deal with you in a minute. I'm like, what the hell? Then I go out there. It's like 20 minutes going by. I'm like thinking all kind of things. Like, what's wrong with this guy? I didn't lie to this man.
I'm a staff sergeant sitting in the hallway.
Yo, Sergeant First Class Hart comes out. It's HART. He's like, He had this raspy voice. So I come back in. I come back in and say, "Okay, Marine, I made a few phone calls, and apparently you are who you say you are,
Right.
and you did, what you said you did.
Right.
Okay, because of that, you're not going to be going too far away from me, because I got a whole lot of problems here with a whole bunch of teams here." He's like, "You are now going to be in charge of 5 installations."
Oh,
and I'm like,
goodness.
"What?
Yeah.
Man, come over here for this." You know what I mean? So he's like, "That's what you're going to do. You're going to be the KM at Camp Stryker, and he'll take you over there. That's where he's stationed at, and you're going to do this, and you're going to take care of Liberty and Victory and this and that." And I'm like, "All right, okay." So that's what I did. Now Kris, on the other hand, and his skills with that wonderful dog he had, they were in some rough areas, you know. Was I in some places that made you a little nervous? Yeah, many times.
Right.
Not like him. Not like him. Yeah. Being the senior guy was a lifesaver looking back. You know, I wasn't trying to be a hero. You know what I mean? I did what I was supposed to do, and I went over there and showed the capabilities of this team, and I fixed a whole lot of teams. You know what I mean?
So you get done with that deployments. Right?
Yeah.
And I think the next time I ran into you was in Yuma, Arizona.
Okay, so yeah, I come back.
So did I miss anything from deployment?
Well, I come back late 07.
Yeah.
And again, I'm still stationed out of Lackland. I was stationed there for 5 years, well, 59 months. So 1 month short of 5 years. Now I had met who was going to be my wife, you know, in Israel. Now at this time, right before I moved to Camp Lejeune, I flew her in, and we traveled together, and I check in the Camp Lejeune. It's like December of 07, yeah.
And you still a staff sergeant at this point? Or
yeah, I'm staff sergeant. I didn't make gunny until after I got to Yuma Proving Ground.
Yes,
you know. So now I'm chief trainer of a 60 dog kennel. Okay, there's one guy over me. His name was Smith, Tony Smith. He was a gunnery sergeant. He was cool, nice guy. Very admin-like. He let me do the outdoor thing. He did that, and it worked out great. Right. And then his replacement had come off the drill field. His name was oh my God, crazy! I just went blank. It'll come to me. Gunnigan. So gunnery sergeant again. I know who that is. He was a little long time. I had to kind of took me about 6 months to get him to chill. Yeah. You know, but at the same time, he was very, very involved. Kind of like, what's going on here? What's going on? Who needs to be strangled? You know what I mean? And so I was able to prove to him pretty much overnight, like, who is this guy, man? Take a leash from many dogs and makes it happen. He says he's going to do it. This is going to happen. And he takes the damn dog, and that's what happened. Right. I got nothing to say to this guy. Who am I going to tell this guy, you know? Right. So we had an agreement, like everything outdoors, I got it. Everything indoors, admin, anything I don't like, you got that done. And it worked out great. Yeah. Going back real quick to Tony Smith, he's like, "Hey, you're the chief trainer." I said, "Hey, listen, there's 12 teams that are CTD, combat tracking dogs." I said, I mean, I can make sense of it all, but I have not been formally educated. How am I going to lead them? He's like, "That's a good point." Right. I went to freaking in Indiana, man, under what's his name? Lick Lighter. Yeah. Man, you know, the guy had a used cars, you know, reputation, but the school was legit. Yeah. I figured it out, like, oh, okay, this all makes sense, and I got it. Yeah. I don't need any more help from here. Yeah. I know how to expand from this point, and I remember our requirement was like 300 meters in an hour set time or something. Right. I ended up making it 3 miles, you know, with 3 hour set time. I think it was 3 and 3. I did a 3 and 3.
So the purpose of a combat tracker dog, just so I make sure I get it right, and is that post blast track?
Usually, let's say you're in a convoy, and then a couple guys way over here on a motorcycle or over on this hillside fire an RPG at you, and we saw where you were. Okay. Yeah. And now, you know, QRF, quick reaction force, you know, maybe they tried to get you and they couldn't. Perfect example of one of the guys I trained, JJ Burns, and his dog named Jay. So QRF had tried to react and do what they needed to do to fight these guys that kept doing this. and they had failed 3 or 4 times. Like, we went out here, man, we lost him, whatever. So finally, they get JJ to join him. JJ was old grumpy Lance Corporal, right? He's like 33 years old, and joined the military for whatever reason. So he, they get him one day, and they go out there, and they're like, "Hey, man, this is the poo site, point of origin, right?"
Right.
And he's like, "All right, get out of the way, and no one's messed with it or anything." No, man, it's always happening like right here. We take this route all the time.
Right.
He's like, "Fine, boom." Dog picks up the track, takes off, and they're like maybe half mile in, and the dog just stops. And now there is no termination in KK's tracking, all right? Like, if your dog is tired and he's about to like have a stroke, we're gonna take a break.
Right.
Let me know when he can breathe again. We're gonna pick it up from right here. But we're not terminating anything,
right?
Because that's not realistic to me.
Right.
There's no quitting.
Right.
So they knew this. So he goes out. He's like, "Hey, man, the track ends right here." He's like, "Oh, you lost it? This is where we lost it too." The Army's giving him hell, right? And he's like, "I didn't say that, man. I'm telling you, they didn't go beyond this point because the dog would not have stopped." Right. And they're like, whatever. So they end up getting a couple engineers out there, wandering the ground. And they did get something. Yeah. And so they ended up bringing some, he said they had some sort of graphite poles, and they were sticking them in the ground, and they hit wood. Yeah. So they gather around, move some dirt away. There were 17 guys underground making bombs. Oh, geez. He's like, "Gotcha. Got him." Yeah, that was the end of that then. So that was a beautiful story, man. A wonderful story of success on that deal. Right. I had one guy named Gary Rowan. He's a successful, I think, he owns like a contracting business, construction company down in Georgia now. Yeah. And it's like the student that becomes, like, "Man, I'll just follow you and learn everything I need to know at this point." Mm-hmm. He had a dog named Cherry. Before they deployed, there were 6 guys I had to prepare. I prepared 9, but I said, "Hey, the first 6 go. If you want to go, you're going to be in the top 6. And I constantly changed the order every week and showed Gunny again on his dry erase board. "Hey, this guy's number 1, 2, 3. Gary, Rowan, and Cherry were number 1, and they locked it down. No one could beat them. All right. So Gary Rowan, I said, "Hey, man, I want you to take this formula I created. All right. And I want you to just follow the formula and see how long you can take it." He's like, "All right." He goes over, he comes back. He did a 5-mile track in 110 plus degree weather. Wow. With 12 hours of set time. Wow. I said, "Man, I didn't think you was going to take the equation that far. You went like be off the page." You know what I mean? You went off the page but I was like, wow, right. God bless you, Yeah. But that was another story of success in CTD. But so yeah, Smith sent me to school so I could end up now with SSD, with CTD, and obviously the obvious that we all got. Right. I was like, I have checked every box. Right. I now at this point I need to become a subject matter expert in every area. Right. And I honestly I feel like I did, as much as I could possibly become, and I was successful at training teams to exceed the expectations and exceed the standards, and proud of it. So so now I leave. At Camp Lejeune, I ended up going to Afghanistan in 2009. Right. I think there was like a dozen of us that went over, and there was Gunny again, and then myself, and then a few trackers and a few SSD guys and a few dual purpose explosives. Based out of Leatherneck. Yeah, out of Leatherneck. Yep, okay. Yep. And we were like the first ones there. We kind of got set up, and we ended up joining like some MP battalion. It was also out of Lejeune, and we had a kind of a little rough start with them. But and I remember the captain, his name was Sturrock. He was kind of, I don't know, man. He didn't really like us. He didn't like us or something. I don't know. But by the end, he loved us. And he was real cool. As a matter of fact, he gave me a NAM. I said gave, but because I wasn't expecting it, because I knew there was only going to be 2 awards, and it went to 2 corporals that had been Navy Achievement Medal. Yeah, Navy Achievement Medal, and they were 2 guys that had been with Second Recon for like a few months, and they had gone out and done a lot of things, and we're in a lot of. They got in some danger, and they got in some things. They got some gunfire things, things like that. So they deserved it. But so I'm in the formation, and these guys get called up, blah blah blah. I hear Staff Sergeant Knight front and center. I'm like, what? Oh, I stepped out, march up there. Boom, he does the award for them, and I can hear him talking to him. Guy Corporal Schaefer, and then got him JD. I think his last name was Daniels. So he's talking to him, and he steps in front of me. He goes, "Yeah, I bet you're surprised to be here." And I'm like, "Yeah, yes, sir, I am. I thought there were 2 awards." He's like, "There were." I had to get one more.
Yeah.
And he goes, what happened with 2nd LAR in that incident down at the castle? He goes, you took on a whole battalion when you knew you were right, and everyone of them was against you and tried to throw you under the bus and get you killed. And he goes, I have to tell you, I've been in the game for 27 years. I've been, I was enlisted, I was a Mustang, and I've been in this game for 27 years. He goes, I will never, never forget, and I will always tell this story about the guy, and that my 27 years had the biggest balls I've ever seen in my life. He's like, you, son, you have earned that. He goes, I've never seen someone stand their ground so hard in my life and say, I don't give a damn, we ain't doing shit.
Right.
Called a bird and pulled all 4 assets out of there and left them be.
Yeah. Wow.
I was like, yeah, you're gonna,
Yeah. No, I
yeah,
get
it was a rough day.
Sometimes you gotta stand on principle.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
They made no sense, and
there was a time
there's nothing I've ever questioned.
In singing, I thought a Master Guns was gonna shoot me over the dogs because
I
stood on principle.
Yeah,
right.
Sometimes you got to. Yeah. This guy tried to send us out to do a mission. Me and a guy named Corporal Schaefer, both of us SSD.
Yeah.
At 1:00 in the afternoon, it was 124 degrees. And I'm like, we're not driving to this location because I asked enough questions. I was like, you want us to search 5 kilometers to some village that's over there that I can't see.
Right.
And you think this is going to work?
Yeah.
That's not going to work.
It's dog 2 kilometers in. It's dog
2 kilometers. We wouldn't have made it 200 meters.
Yeah.
It was, you couldn't touch the ground and hold your hand on the ground for 3 seconds.
So air temperature 120, ground temperature
162. 162. I had a gun that I got from the vet that I checked it on. I was like, that can't help you. Yeah. What part of early morning and anytime throughout the evening do you not understand?
Right.
They didn't like the fact that, I mean, we're talking so many things led up to this. For example, we were there for a week. At the time we were ended up being there for like 22 days. But in the first week, they were like, hey, we have to ration our water. This is just one example of how messed up they were. So, like, you have to come and show your ID and take, each individual has to get their case of water, which was 12 regular bottles, I was like, whatever. I go up there and I say, I need 2 cases of water. I can only give you 1. Each Marine has to come and get his own. I was like, yeah, I got a dog, man. Yeah. So I need 2. I can only give you 1. I said, man, go ahead. Wait, Lance Corporal, go get somebody to make sense of this for me.
Right.
It comes back, some guy, what's going on? I said, I need 2 cases of water. He said, I can only give you 1. We explained this in the meeting. You were in the meeting. I said, yeah, I understand. My dog had a harness on, lifting them up. I said, this Marine needs his own dog. Right. He's like, Roger, here, give him 2. Okay. So the next day, I go up there. Yeah, you ain't the same guy as yesterday.
Right.
I said, I had 2 cases of water.
Same thing again.
I can only give you 1.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I dealt with this yesterday. I got a dog, man. 1 for me, 1 for the dog. I'm not authorized to do that. Why don't you go get somebody that makes sense of this? Somebody comes down, tries to argue about this shit. You got to share.
Right.
I was like, yeah, okay.
So I only get half my water?
I said, man, give me 2 cases of water, bro.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not walking away without 2 cases of water.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not sharing my dog water. Right. It was not happening. I said 12 bottles ain't really enough for where we are and sitting out in the sun.
Right.
Fine. Like, yeah, I know it's fine. Like, at this point, I got an attitude.
Right.
Get the water. Boom. 3rd day, different dude. I say, man, I need 2 cases of water.
Here we go.
I'm going to give you 1. Man, at this point, I snapped.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. I qualified for drill instructor on that day. I was like, somebody got to get this shit together. Right. I said, how the hell can this unit be so big that you guys cannot figure out
that the dog
that I'm getting a case of water and so is this Marine, know?
Right.
And then at this point now, this first sergeant comes up and he's like, you don't have to really lose your fucking mind and shit. Lose my fucking mind? Right. I said, clearly I do, and it's still not gonna work. I bet you I come back tomorrow, I'm gonna have to say the same thing because you people can't get your shit together.
Right.
Right. He's like, you know what? You should go talk to the XO.
Yeah.
I was like, where's he at?
Right.
He's down in the C square down there. I'm like, cool. I started walking about 50 yards. I was like, this dude set me up.
Yeah.
This don't sound right. Like, wait a minute, the hairs on my neck are, I'm like,
something ain't right. I'm about to step on a landmine.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I was like, you know what? I went over and I said, Whitty, Staff Sergeant Whitmore, I said, come with me, man. I said, let's get something really clear. I said, I'm going to go down here and talk to this guy. I might have my career on the line, I said, because I'm about to lose it, man. I said, I'm done with this unit, man, because there was so many things that led up to this. The water was really not that big a deal compared to other things.
Right.
The water was just the last straw for me. So I said, listen, man, we're going to go down here and talk to this guy. If you open your mouth, I said, you're going to wake up in ICU. He's like, what are you talking about, man? I said, listen, man, just trust me. Something feel right. I'm just taking you as a witness.
Right.
But whatever you do, man, I don't care if anyone even says something to you. Don't speak. It's fair enough. I said, I don't want to knock you out, man, but I will just to save your career.
Right.
Because it's not looking good for me. I said, matter of fact, before we go, I'm gonna call my wife right quick. Call my wife. I said, hey, this is what's going on. This is what led up to this point. Now, at this point, when we're like they're 18 days in.
Right.
Okay. So many things have gone wrong at this point, man. So I go down there and I'm waiting. I mean, I can't even say how this conversation went on video. Yeah. Won't be able to air it. So anyway, I go down there and he's first of all ignores me for like 2 minutes. He's on the radio with someone, and I'm like maybe 10 feet from this guy. And he's sitting in the back of like a LAV, you know, those vehicles that land in water. Yep. So I'm sitting there. Finally, he turns and he takes the headset off his head and he goes, "What MF?" Like loud. Yeah, wow. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I'll put those right down here." Okay. No, you're right. Yeah. I was like, you're going to start a conversation off like that, then I accept. Right. And he was a lieutenant colonel. Right. His last name was Sute. Yeah. And I said, you want to step out of the vehicle and tell me to my face? Right. And he wouldn't. I said, that's what I thought. And I was like, you step out here, it's going to be your last day. This, that, and the other. Da, 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 da. So we went back and forth a little bit, and this little Lance Corporal was sitting like right here, was like shaking. So finally, he says, "You work for me. You're going to do what I tell you to, and get the F out of my face." Right. And I stood there. He said, "What part you don't understand?" I was like, "Click." I put my phone. I pull out a satellite phone. I was like, "The only thing I understand is that you just lost 4 assets." And he's like, "You don't have the authority."
I do.
4 hours later. Who ordered that bird? Yeah. That's on with him. Yeah. Who is that guy? According to him, all the dogs work for him. Right. All the Marine Corps dogs are under him. Right. Like, oops. Yeah. There was an investigation. It took about 3 weeks. Yeah. I was found completely clear. And that's when I won over Captain Sturrock. He realized that this unit's really messed up. Yeah. And we supported everybody else but that unit. And they ended up having a lot of casualties. They were out there looking for trouble. I saw that myself, man. A lot of trouble. 3 years contracted over there, and that's what I saw. You didn't utilize dogs right or the right way. You got a lot of casualties. Yeah. They didn't know how to use them, and we got out of there. And sang, and just not the happiest part of my career, but I had to stand on business that day. I had to stand on business because what they were doing made no sense. So,
but that says a lot about your character. Right, like sometimes you got to stand on it, even if there's consequences.
Oh, I thought for sure, man. At the very front end, I'm gonna end up going home with private. Yeah, you know what I mean. This is crazy, and they read me my rights and everything. I was like, oh, these guys are nuts. This is not gonna fly. This is not gonna fly. How will you, as no dog, nothing to do with dogs, gonna tell me a support element what I am gonna do and what I can do? Right. You don't know my capabilities or my limitations, but I'm trying to help you out, but you don't want to hear it. Okay, fine.
Yeah. That makes for a long deployment.
You got your rank getting, interfere with common sense is what happened there.
Yeah.
So Christmas Day, December 25th, 2009, we got on a bird at 7:05 a.m. a C-17 and flew to Germany. Yeah. And I remember it was like 4 or 5 inches of snow, and the pilots were like, "We'll probably be here for 4 or 5 days." Right. And like 5 hours later, we're like, "Nope, we're good. We're changing our mind. We're taking off." Right. I'm back at Cherry Point before you know it. Called my wife, and I was like, "Hey, I'm North Carolina. Get yourself a ticket and come on." Right. She literally bought a ticket the next day, and I think, it couldn't have been 48 hours from the time I got back.
So at that point, you guys were both in 2 MEF?
No, he was. Will was 1 MEF.
1 MEF.
That was also part of the agreement. Like, hey, when we come back, you take over this big unit. You take over this big unit. And the other 2 guys, they got out. Yeah. Yeah. They got out. So 2 MEF. I was there for 2.5 years. When I came back from when I came back from Afghanistan, again, that's late December '09, and I knew that I had orders to Yuma Proving Grounds.
Right.
All right. So they kind of told me like, hey man, we appreciate everything you've done. Just kind of chill, chill. Come to work, do what you want,
Right.
And take care of business and get yourself ready to go out there. And in May of '09, I ended up going out. Before that, I ended up rescuing a Rottweiler I trained, and for a lady in Atlanta, I ended up saving her life and her friend's life like 23 months later.
Really?
Yeah. So that was a cool story.
That's wild.
April 17th.
So when you went out to Yuma, it wasn't necessarily for combat tracker. It was deployment readiness, if I remember.
Oh, when I went to Yuma, I knew I was going to be the course chief. I was replacing Greg Massey.
And it was a readiness, wasn't it?
Well, they called it pre-deployment. And then not long after that, when we ended up falling under Fort Leonard Wood, my XO, Brandon Bowe, like we just started sitting down. He's like, throwing out names. Let's just put our own. Let's make it something for funding. It all came down to funding while we had to change the name.
Right.
So we ended up coming up with IASC, Inter Service Advanced Skills Canine Course,
right.
So we could get funding.
So you include all branches, you get more money.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
So yeah, this is June 2010.
June 2010.
Yeah.
Yep. So how many years did you spend out there at Yuma?
3 years. Well, 3 years exactly at that course, and then another 17 months at Yuma Air Station to retire.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It was supposed to be my twilight tour, and I was supposed to stay there for 4.5 years. But the monitor had, even though he was the one who agreed to that, ended up changing his mind and gave me orders to Okinawa, Japan.
Oh, yeah.
But I was, my wife had a year left in school. She wanted to, have a child, and I was like, I'm retiring at 20 years.
We don't want to do that in Japan. Yeah.
Right. I was like, that's the wrong point in my career. Nothing against Okinawa, it's just not the right time.
So I think 2010 or 11 is when I ran into you in Yuma.
Yeah.
And you had some combat trackers out there at the moment. I was contracted with a different company, K2.
Okay, I remember.
It was K2 at that point. Yeah, so I remember that. So so you get done with the Marine Corps, phenomenal career, with a lot of trials and tribulations, as I remember too. I remember when you made staff sergeant. It was such a big moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never supposed to happen.
Huge moment because it was never supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And I remember in the pit. It
was October 1st of 2005.
Yeah, I remember. I was there. I don't know the date.
Yeah,
but I remember how much that meant to you, man.
And
I knew. I said the military is going to get another good pump out of it.
I had done everything to eliminate any impossible excuse that they had not to promote me.
Right.
I had done it all. At this point, I went ahead and got my associates. I got my bachelor's. I was the color guard sergeant.
Right.
I'd volunteered to be the demo guy for a year, and the Air Force was ranking me 1 out of 14 from the whole time I was there. Right. So I was like, what else do you want from me?
Right. And rightfully so, man. They made the right decision.
Thank God, man.
So you get to Yuma, you're there a little while, get promoted gunny.
Yep.
You do a lot of good stuff out there, and I heard from. It was funny to me because I known you a long time. We did some pretty fun, amazing bike trips together. We won't talk about those on this, but I knew what kind of character you had. I think that's the first time we really spent some time together. But I remember he is so funny. Maybe I'll put that in the book. But what a great career.
Remember us racing and being on 2 wheels.
I know that one too.
Tim always like, don't do that again.
Don't do that again. But we so you get down there, right? You retire with a great career. How long before you retired that you ended up at Lackland?
No, I had applied in August of 14, and I actually got my DD 214 on December 22nd of 2014. Now I knew on December 12th, so 10 days before I actually got my walking papers.
Yeah.
I had already gotten hired.
Yeah, I had the job.
So I was like blessed, like, oh my God, there's no lull. Yeah, there's no broke time. I'm going to be able to go from one position and go right into another job. Thank God. you know, and people like Brian Thayer and J.J. Wilson, you know, they all kind of helped me do the resume. And Rutenberry gave me his example. Like, hey, man, I remember, well, you did this and I did this, and you just did this at different times. Yeah, it's changed a year here. So it was nice, man. I had a lot of, you know, the networking of friends and
that's a good word, right? So networking, right? Like
oh, my God. It's huge in this field.
It's a small, K9 is a small brotherhood.
Sure.
Marine Corps is a huge brotherhood, but inside that K9 Corps, when you look at all branches, it's a pretty small.
Oh, it's small. When I joined, I remember being number 116 of K9. Like, there was only 116 of us when I graduated. It ended up going all the way up to, I think, like 400 at one point in the height of the war. But that's counting, IDDs.
Counting IDDs and SSDs and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then let's talk about that transition, man. Like, hard charging, gunny of Marines in Afghanistan, about to throw down with XOs, and now you're teaching civilians.
Yeah.
With maybe they had some military background, maybe they didn't.
Right.
Maybe they had discipline.
Or law enforcement or something.
Or law enforcement. And with that agency, that federal service, you know, that's the difference, right?
Well, what helped me is that I got hired as a trainer.
On the training side. Yeah.
So January 12th of 2015 was day one at TSA, at CTC. Yeah. So I was on the dog training side. I didn't really deal with students.
Right.
And that helped me, because if I had gone straight to, I might have gotten in some trouble, you know.
Right, because that's the same pretty much like we discussed earlier. You know, the fundamentals, the methods haven't really changed. And there's not a huge difference in DOD versus DHS.
The difference, though, was in the military, you have authority.
Right.
And then the civilian side, you have an opinion.
You absolutely.
That's a big difference.
You're absolutely
you know.
Right. You have an opinion.
You know.
And you can also catch what's called a grievance.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you almost need an attorney to be an instructor with. On the civilian side.
Right. So that helped me transition. Yeah. That my first 20 months out, I was just at the training side. And I say 20 months because I resigned. I resigned in August of 2016 because my wife and I had been talking back and forth for months, man, 6 months or so. And she says, I want to move back to Israel. I said, man, you know, I've had this woman over here. I took her from her country. I took her from her family. I took her from everything she knew. I guess I owe it to her. Yeah. You know what I mean? I love this woman. So, you know, I guess I'm going to give it a shot. It was scary, man. It was terrifying. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to go to a foreign country. I'm not Jewish. You know, I always joke, I'm Jewish, you know, but so I'm not Jewish. And, you know, that was, I didn't feel it right away, but I'd say, you know, maybe after 9-10 months or so, right out of a year, I started to realize that I'm not wanted here. Right. Because I'm not Jewish, I'm not welcome. Right. You know, being a tourist in 2006, oh, you're welcome. Come spend your money here. We love you to death. Right. Oh, you want to stay? No, I don't think so. Yeah. Yeah, and I realized that, and it took my wife a while to accept the fact that I said, you know, this is a form of at least prejudice, maybe racism in a sense. I said, but, you know, I'm bitter, but at the same time, I understand, you know, because if this is not what you want, then who am I to impose? Sure. And I said, look, we got to get out of here. Yeah. You know, we got to go. She says, okay, I understand it, you know. And, you know, and I got a 3-month head start. And I left on December 29th, 2017, minus $5,000. I had to borrow $5,000 from Navy Fed to have enough money to buy a ticket to get up out of there. Yeah. Because I had left her, I had I think 16,000 shekels. Yeah. And then obviously I had my retirement and my disability coming in. Right. But I remember giving her 16,000 shekels and says, hey, you know, there'll be more money later. Right. I'm going to go back. And I said, it shouldn't take too long for my security clearance to be cleared. Now, it took 4 months. I wasn't able to start again until April 2nd, you know, but thankfully, you know, with Sandoval, my supervisor, and Kris Shelton. Good leadership. Yeah, well, Kris Shelton really opened the doors and made the position for me. And that's not going to happen for anybody. They know what kind of trainer you are. It's funny. He said, I said, hey, can I get a raise? He's like, who resigns and asks for a raise? Yeah. I said, yeah, but you're not guessing with me. He's like, did you get it? Yeah,
Oh,
he gave it to me.
well, there you go. Not surprised.
He gave it to me. I was like,
Not
thank God,
surprised, Kris Knight.
So he
Not
hooked me up. I
surprised.
was like, I guess you like my answer. I said, you're not guessing. I know how to train. You know. So then when I came back,
Yeah.
now we're in what 2018. So again, I started April 2nd, 2018,
Yeah.
and not long after that, it seemed like we were. Uh, Zeb came into play,
Right.
and then we started doing this whole three hats.
Yeah.
So you're a trainer, you're an instructor, and you're an
And
evaluator.
evaluate it. Yeah.
Again, I felt that resistance of like when I first went to become an instructor, I was like, that's
Right.
not what I asked for.
Right.
I just want to train dogs and be left alone.
Right.
But
Right. Yeah, and you can't
you know,
always do
nah,
that.
you
I
can't.
mean, I get it. I understand like the need to diversify, but I also understand the need of this is what I love doing. Let me
Yeah,
keep doing it because
right.
just like you, I've been in that boat of training dogs and training students and training bioways. And for me, I love training students, but I can only do it for a couple years at a time because it turns for
Yeah, but
me it
not
turns
training
into
all students.
it turns in yeah
You know what I mean?
yeah
Some of
yeah.
them just they're not deserving.
Well, what
You
happened?
know,
What happened with
they're not
me?
passionate.
What happened with me was that I had too high of expectations too quickly for students, and you get that sense
I have that. I
when
have
you
that impatience
graduate
when it
a
comes to
group
that.
and then you pick up a new group and you're like, why don't you know this yet?
Right.
Like
Right.
like
Well, my problem is also if I had prepared 3 or 4 dogs and you end up getting one of my dogs,
and you don't train
I
them.
was definitely a little harder on you than
Yeah,
you were because
yeah,
I was always looking out for the dog.
right.
Like, what's best for the dog? What's
So
best for the dog?
you were back here when Pat Yeoman and I got pulled from the field to do the 9 month
Yeah, I remember this.
OQC course.
Yeah, I think Law was with you
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Jason
remember
was
you
with
guys
us.
doing that.
Yeah, and that was kind of start of a new era in I guess we'll call it personal detection,
It
right?
was the person screening canine in a
Yeah,
sense. Yeah.
the passenger screening canine,
Yeah.
and yeah, I remember you had just gotten back. You hadn't been back too long, but yeah, 9 months, like you in Israel, 9 months of this. But what I really liked about that course was that we were starting that green to go,
Right.
right?
Right.
Taking two dogs, training them, training the students how to train them. And I think we started building better dog teams. But enough about. I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about you. I just trying to relate to our timeline together.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll say this to you, man, as a fan of yours. To be honest, I know I've never had to like kiss your ass for anything. You've always just been upfront with me, and I've always been upfront with you. And I think that's what I appreciate most about our relationship. I can say whatever I want to say to you,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and we
Thick
we
skin.
yeah, and
It's hard to offend me.
but we always were able to pick up where we left off. Like it was like I really enjoyed our time in Alabama.
Yeah.
We went up there to honor Luca
Right.
in the
Right.
memorial, and it was like I just saw you yesterday.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and
And
that's what
there's only so many people that
yeah,
I'm we
100%, and
yeah, you got to be in my opinion, you got to be a man.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
not a
yeah,
male, but a man.
yeah, no
I'm
doubt,
not
no
nothing.
doubt,
I'm
man.
not saying any more than that. I'm just saying is you gotta be a real motherfucker. Is what I'm
Yeah, yeah.
saying.
No, I get it,
you
man, and
know.
I appreciate that comment back, man, because most of my career I've always fought that stigmatism of you're Air Force. Well, oh yeah, I was. I
Yeah.
was.
Right.
I don't deny that, but I'll get down with anybody.
We clown. We all
Yeah,
clown
yeah,
each
yeah.
other.
But it's all
And
love,
we're
man.
crayon eaters
It's
and
all
everything
love.
else, right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. But man, I know I know what you've done for K9 in general. I know what you've done for K9, not just here now, what you've done, but what you've done in the past and what the lives you've saved, whether you realize it or not, and the respect that you have as a K9 legend. And you're one of 10 people that I want to interview. Like I got to interview this guy because I want to tell you a story. So I appreciate you sharing it with me. I appreciate you driving through all that traffic. I'm sorry I didn't.
Yeah.
I,
It's an honor,
I
really.
wish
Yeah.
I would have
It was
got
worth
you.
it.
And it's gonna be I want people to know you like I know you. I know your story. Everything you've told me, with the exception of a few details, like I know you.
Right.
And I know what kind of character you have, and I know how you were brought up, and I know what you came from, and that's a lot to say for someone that is just such a great canine guy and a good guy in general. And still to this day, you know, I just retired September 30th. But anywhere I went in the country, I'd run into somebody. Hey, you know Kris Knight? I'm like, yeah, I know Kris Knight. Man, he's something, huh? I'm like, yeah, he's something. He's something, that's for sure. But I appreciate you,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Thank you for your time,
Honor,
my
brother.
brother. I
Honor,
love you,
man.
man. I
Just
hope.
happy to be in the crowd of goodness, you know,
Yeah,
greatness
I'm
in a
looking
sense.
forward. We're here this week for the War Dogs Association, the 25th anniversary, and our very good
Wow.
friend Kris Willingham,
Yeah.
who's leading that charge
The
right
leader
now.
of leaders, right
And
there.
like you said earlier, man, you know, when you're off in Israel and Kris is always 4 or 5 steps ahead,
Yeah,
moving,
man.
man.
Yeah, they couldn't.
Moving.
There was no competing with him, and it wasn't just as a student in a sense. He
Yeah,
proved it on the battlefield.
yeah.
He proves it as a man, as a character, the Marine. But what I mean, just
Every day. Yeah, yeah. But don't
he's
take yourself out of that same
yeah,
grouping. You know,
he's hard to
it,
compete with. I do what I do in a different way, but
right?
you
You do
know,
it your way.
you
Do
you
it
can't
Kris
find
Knight
anything
way.
wrong with this guy. You know,
No,
you can find a
no.
lot wrong with me, but
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean.
yeah, yeah.
He's just
Chris
that
is
guy.
just that guy, man.
Yeah,
He's that guy. He'll
yeah.
end up if he wants to be Secretary of Defense, he'll be
Sure,
Secretary of
sure. Yeah, I
Defense.
always thought that he's gonna end up becoming like the
He's
mayor.
definitely going to be a mayor
Right.
of Tuscaloosa.
Sure. You know, I wouldn't be, and if they're like, oh, he's the governor. Of course he
Yeah,
is.
of course he
Oh,
is. It's Chris,
yeah,
man.
if I knew that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's
no
him.
doubt, brother.
He's a hero. I love
He
that
is.
guy, man.
And so are you, man.
I mean I
So
get
are
it.
you.
I'll take this opportunity. I'm horrible about keeping in touch. Don't be offended.
Me, I never
I'm
get
a
offended.
loner, man. I just like to relax
Me
and
and you
take
both.
care of my
And
family,
as long as
man.
as long as when I see you, we pick it up.
Yeah.
That's all I ever care about.